Well, when you told me you were going to that thing last night, I was so impressed. And it made me think, when I was back at Duke 100 years ago coaching, there was a guy who owned some record stores in town. And he said, hey, there's going to be a concert 2 nights from now. Do you want to go? I said, who is it? He says it's Springsteen or something like that. He didn't even know the guy's name. So it was in Cameron Indoor Stadium, which is a small.
Oh, he played in Cameron Indoor?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So I'm in like the 3rd row, and this thing starts, and he goes for like 4 hours.
This is in 75, 76?
Yeah. I didn't know who Bruce Springsteen was. And, I mean, you talk about buzz and electricity, and my God. It was unbelievable.
Cameron, Duke's always got a lot of New Yorkers there.
Yes.
So they probably knew Bruce even way back in the early 70s when you saw this, correct?
I guess.
Because they, Springsteen, New York, Northeast.
Yeah.
Probably all the fans at Duke wanted to go. The kids there wanted to see Springsteen.
Yeah.
1976. He's got the date. Cameron, what's the date for Bob there?
Oh,
Give
my
him the
God.
date.
You got to be kidding me.
We got, let's see here. It says Durham 76.
Wow.
Is that it, Bob?
Yeah.
Would it be March 28th?
Yeah, sure. Right after the season.
Here's what you do now.
And, of course, 76, we weren't in the Final Four yet. So, March, we were either out recruiting or going to concerts.
76. So that was the Born to Run tour. Here's what you do, Eddie. I want you to get Bob Wenzel the set list. Go on Bruce Springsteen's set list line and get Bob the set list for that show. We'll read off the songs.
Who was the guy, the big
Clarence
guy who played the saxophone?
He was there, just passed away a couple years ago. Wow, look at that. So you sat there. Was it sold out that night at Duke?
Oh, yeah. It was packed. But there's only like 8,000 seats.
Yeah, it's a small place there. But in those days, he wasn't playing big arenas. He was playing.
No.
How many years were you? How many years at Duke were you? When did you get to Duke?
6, 74 to 81.
You got there in September of 74?
No, in the spring of 74. 74, 75 season.
So you're only there about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Your first year in 74-5. What was your record?
We were about 500. They were the worst team in the league, and in those days there was a thing called the 4 North Carolina schools played against one another.
The first 4.
The first 4.
Right.
Okay. Well, we didn't want to confuse. It's not the NCAA tournament, but we played in early December, and it's Duke, which was the worst team, and then North Carolina, which was like number 3 in the nation, and NC State, who had David Thompson and Burleson and those guys, they were number 1 in the nation, and Wake Forest, who was down the line a little bit in the league. So the first game, Wake Forest beats North Carolina State. And then we play North Carolina, and we play them overtime. And this is the first time Duke, with Bill Foster and our staff, played North Carolina. We beat them in overtime by 3. I think 96 to 93 or something like that.
This is Foster's first year.
First year. So we end up, the first and third team in the nation are playing in the consolation game the next night, and Duke and Wake are playing for the championship. We called it the Big Four.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
so who was on that Duke team that first year?
Bob Fleischer was on the team. Kevin Billerman, who went on to be a good coach.
I don't know those
around.
2 names. Okay.
Yeah, well, you won't know any of these names. Willie Hodge was on the team. Tate Armstrong, who was drafted eventually by the Bulls.
He was a freshman
in
in that team? Sophomore?
Yeah, sophomore. So he was the most outstanding player that we had early on.
Who was the coach before you guys got there?
Neil McGahee was the coach, and right before that was Bucky Waters.
So Waters I know Waters he was a big time coach.
Yes, and then of course he, it sort of was coming to his end, and then he quit, and McGahee was his assistant. So McGahee ran Duke for 1 year before we took over the program.
Okay, so was he tabbed the interim head coach?
Yes, he was the interim.
So he knew he wasn't going to get the full-time job.
Yes, but he was trying to get it, and it turned out they were playing North Carolina the last game of the season, and they had North Carolina beat in Chapel Hill. And Walter Davis made a shot from like 30 feet to tie the game, and then they won it. North Carolina won
so
it.
he could have won that. Would that have made a difference if he would have got a state?
McGahee might still be coaching there. I don't know.
Interesting. So you come there that first year. Your first great recruit was Spanarkel?
Yes, Spanarkel.
And you recruited him yourself, correct?
Yes. Spanarkel was our first, and he was the ACC Rookie of the Year. And then the next year, Jaminski was the ACC Rookie of the Year.
We talked about that. So
and then Banks was the ACC Rookie of the Year.
You got 3 in a row. Now, how did you get a hold? How did you convince Bob Wenzel? Now, you know the New York Northeast. He's from Jersey. How did you convince Spanarkel to go to Duke? This is a big-time high school player, is he not?
Yeah, but he wasn't as highly recruited as Banks or some of those other guys. And I think we were the biggest school that was recruiting Spanarkel.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was
Spinarco was a great player. Don't get me wrong, but he was like this pigeon-toed guy who couldn't jump, but was a great player, kind of thing. So yeah, and of course he works for CBS now and does games and so on, and had a good pro career as well.
Did he play as a freshman for you?
Oh, started every game and was the rookie of the year and was fabulous.
Right away then. So your second year you had you were much you had Armstrong and
dramatic.
Yeah, Armstrong and Spinarco in the backcourt. That's a decent backcourt.
You got that right. Both guys drafted. Both guys played in the NBA. But in those days, obviously, we didn't have one and done. So other teams had guys who were really, really talented, but were more seasoned than our players.
So you missed Jordan. Jordan got there in '82. Now you did.
I recruited Jordan, and when Jordan was in Wilmington High School in North Carolina, we had moved to South Carolina. So I was recruiting Michael Jordan for South Carolina and had the governor speak with him, when he came to campus, the whole thing.
That's a decision. I know Bill got a great deal there, and you followed him.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Weird.
Why would he leave Duke? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's he passed away this last year.
I know you've told us this. He's a great guy. You went to the funeral and everything else.
Yeah, sure.
Foster coached. Did he coach you at Rutgers?
Yes.
So that's the relationship. But why would he ever leave? It's like McGuire leaving North Carolina to go to South Carolina 10 years before that, the dumbest move of all time. Why would he ever leave Duke?
I think Dean Smith cast a very large shadow in those days, and no matter what we did, it was still, we were second fiddle, and
he had gone to a championship game. Everybody knew how good Duke was.
Yeah, exactly. So I could have been more personal stuff. It wasn't mine to evaluate that. I was interviewed for the head coaching job at Duke. That's
almost got it. That's when Krzyzewski got it. You were second to that job, but you're not.
Yes. And so it wasn't I didn't feel it was my position to question why Coach was doing what he was doing.
Did you think you were going to get the Duke job?
For a while, I did. Yeah, and everything went well, and then Mike, of course, got it. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to Duke.
And Butters took a chance hiring him.
Yes, Tom Butters was the athletic director,
right.
and I think he had the influence of Bob Knight was very strong in those days, and Mike had played for Bob Knight, and he was taking a chance because Mike had not been successful at Army, where he was the head coach.
And almost took the Iowa State? Almost took the Iowa State job.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, the rest is history, as they say. He's maybe the greatest college basketball coach ever, besides John Wooden. Was
Duke when you were there? Was it like it is today as far as the enthusiasm with the kids and everything else, or was it just for like the North Carolina kind of game?
No. It was
every
like
game,
that.
Georgia, NC State comes in, places jam, kids in the stands, everything else.
Yeah, all of that. And of course, at the time the building was not in disrepair, but wasn't great, and it needed work and so on. It was a little run down. It's beautiful now. I mean, it's so well done.
They've
now.
done a nice job.
They've
kept its old time charm to it, and they've put the 2019. Sort of bells and whistles.
Right.
So it's got a perfect combination.
They never said, okay, we want a 20,000-seat arena. They knew where they were in the world, and they were in the world of television. And the world of television came up at that time, and college basketball became much more nationwide. So before, you would put all your marketing efforts into attendance things and trying to make money and get your value up by the number of people you had paying for tickets in the arena, as opposed to the new world, which was getting a great television deal, right? And it didn't matter how many people you had in the stands. So that's why Carolina's arena is beautiful and gorgeous and big, and NC State's is that way, Maryland's is that way, and Duke has just stayed in where
Carmichael
it is.
was a great little arena, and they lost some charm when they went to the big arena.
They did, and
so did NC State. They left the Reynolds Coliseum.
Right.
They lost some charm. Right? When you go sign these big deals with these big arenas, you lose the intimacy of what should be really great for college basketball.
That's right. and you gain more fans. Obviously, you can accommodate more people. That also can be a trap for the coach, because if your AD is saying, okay, we're going to budget for 20,000 people a game for 16 games, and now you fall off a little bit, and now you've got a budget. You're budgeting for 20,000 fans, and now only 17 are showing up. You're still
empty seats is a killer for anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So that can happen.
All right, now Eddie did not give me the set list, which is what I wanted. He gave me a couple of paragraphs.
Well, it was a good story there, and there were some good quotes. But I did find the set list.
Yeah, no, let me have the set list first, Ed. Can I have the set list for Bob's show at the?
What is a set list?
Here you go. It's up on the screen there. Not sure if that's the exact order, but this is what was played that night.
All right, here we go. This is the Bob Wenzel set list at Cameron Indoor, March 28th of 1976. If you were smart, you come up with a little Bruce music so we can have some fun. Night 10. And remember, you're going to get a lot of Born to Run because the album had just come out.
Well, if you read that little story, they'll say that's the first time they played. Played the entirety.
Oh, really?
In its entirety.
Okay, we'll read that in a minute. Night, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Spirit in the Night, It's My Life, Thunder Road, She's the One, Born to Run, Meeting Across the River, and Backstreet. So you got 5 songs in a row from that album. Disc 2, or a set 2 is the way to put it, not disc 2. Hopefully this is his concert. Hopefully Eddie went to the right shit.
It is. Look on the side there. This is the bootleg copy from that night.
Okay. It's the bootleg copy, Bob. So this is the one you did see. Blinded by the Light, Jungle Land, Rosalita, which you're listening to right now, Raise Your Hand, Sandy, Detroit Medley, 2:45. So, though it only appears to be 16 songs, those are long songs. The Detroit Medley lasts forever. 2:45, which is not on the disc, that bootleg, is a long song. You probably knew about one of those songs at the time, Bob. You were not a big Springsteen. You may have heard of Born to Run. He was on a cover of Time and Newsweek, so you may have heard of that, correct?
What is that, a magazine?
Yeah. Yes, you did. And that Time and Newsweek cover story, I think, came out in October of 75. November of 75, and you were at the show 5 months later, so you probably knew him from the magazines.
I was so involved in trying to get Spinarcle, I wasn't paying any attention. The only New Jersey guy I was interested in was Spinarcle, not Bruce Springsteen.
But you saw that show, and he remembered Clarence Clemens. There you have it.
It was
Bob
awesome.
Gallerstein's got a sports fight. We continue here at 34-32, 37-32 Miami. So the Wenzel pick of Loyola might go by the board. Here's Bob Gallerstein's sports fight here on Mad Dog Unleashed.